Hello, I'm Ralph Mitchell, and I'm joined today by Bruce McLean. We're doing a public access video, More Jobs for Ulster County. And we want to bring you up to date on what's going on as far as job creation in Ulster County. There's certain things, certain roadblocks that are slowing things down. What we're going to do is basically divide the presentation in two halves. Bruce is going to cover pilots. Pilots are payments in lieu of taxes. It's an incentive to bring companies and businesses to Ulster County. And I'm going to cover opportunity zones, which are part of the federal tax plan, tax cut plan. And Bruce, the pilot program, who administers that in Ulster County?
The Ulster County IDA administers it. It's a group of people that are appointed to what they call the IDA board. They're approved by the Ulster County legislature and with some direction from my kind, or the county executive.
There was a recent shuffle. It was that certain people's, I don't expect you to name names, but certain people were removed and others installed.
That's correct, including the chairman. And I think a lot of that came out of this back last January, February, and the end of the year before that, this Yasmin Tower Governor Clinton sale, which had to be done by January 1st, and just ended up being closed fairly recently in the last month or two, which was even more involved than the pilots were concerned. But it just showed how much money is being squandered by this agency.
I see. So, what's your basic theme, Bruce? You're a local citizen. You're a citizen expert on it because you have an interest in it, and you write a lot of letters to the editor, different papers locally. What is your theme? What is your objective? You say that it's not being used properly.
Well, the Osmond Tower Governor Clinton deal. They said that they needed this pilot to make the deal worthwhile, and keep the senior citizen apartments open. They said that they were going to make improvements to a number of the units and like that. And in essence, what they were doing is they're rewarding the seller for not taking care of the property and saying, okay, we're going to pay you top dollar for the property to buy it, and then we're going to get the government, which is the taxpayers, we're going to get money from them through these pilots because we're not going to pay any taxes, or we're going to get our taxes reduced to pay for the upkeep, the remodeling, whatever you want to call it. And they didn't really create any jobs here. They may have saved a couple of jobs, and the apartments weren't going to go anyplace.
Right.
And they were going to stay open one way or another.
Right.
So I mean, what they gave away here is a tremendous amount of money, and it's over 35 years. So I mean, this is not like a year or two thing. This is 35 years. For most of us, most of our adult lives is 35 years.
So 35 years of tax reduction.
35 years of tax reduction, which the assessor will tell you, well, we're still getting more than we were getting, but you're getting nowhere near what you should be getting.
And from my point of view, and everybody else's point of view, the rest of us pick up the share because the budget has to be paid for by the taxpayers.
If the budget is there and it is what it is, there's umpteen numbers of pieces to the pie, and if a certain amount of pieces to the pie don't pay any tax, then the remaining pieces have to pick up the difference.
Right.
Because the pie itself, the circumference stays the same.
Right. So is the IDA answerable to the citizens directly or indirectly?
I would say it's really indirectly because but I think in this case they answered directly because they got themselves replaced. But okay. It's really indirectly through the legislature.
Well, who made the noise? You made the noise, or you went up the ladder to the state too?
Well, we've sent letters to the state, to the controller. They say they're going to investigate it. You know, I think the state's got a lot of stuff on the table right now, so maybe Kingston, New York, or Ulster County isn't the most important part, or maybe they get direction that Kingston is not the place we want to be right now. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
Does the county legislature routinely comment on the pilots that have been granted?
well, the county legislature has to approve it. So if the IDA says we're going to give a pilot to ABC Corporation, then the municipality, or like we'll say Kingston, has to approve it. The school district would have to approve it, and the county has to approve it for it to be successful. But it seems to be like it's more of a rubber stamp than it is an approval.
Okay. I think that has to change. I mean, I think the citizens should be more aware and more vocal. But how do you make that happen?
Well, if I had to answer to that, we wouldn't have to run this show today. But you know, I mean, we're giving pilots. Last year, we gave out pilots for bed and breakfast uptown. That, you know, I don't know how many jobs they're going to create, but they're certainly not going to create many, and they're not going to be, you know, 9 to 5 jobs 5 days a week. They're going to be weekend jobs. Bed and breakfasts are what they are. The Holiday Inn and Saugerties. It's you know, they're busy on weekends. What they are on Tuesday and Wednesdays, I don't know. There was the Woodstock, I call it the Woodworth Food Exchange. I mean, here was something they were going to create a bunch of jobs and have all these vendors come in, and it was going to be like an indoor flea market. And they sold the pilots along with the building to the next guy, and then the assessor even went as far as to only assess the property at 50% of what it was really worth. And so
yeah, so these are all these things are hitting the average people, you and I, and the average people in the pocketbook.
And there's a guarantee of jobs, and there's no accountability to how many jobs are being created and what the level of the salary level is, or the total salary level is of, you know, all of them together. Round Out Country Club, or their successors out there, they want a $1.3 million pilot to keep the golf course open. I understand it's only going to be 9 holes and like that, and they claim they're going to create 10 jobs. Well, what are they going to create 10 jobs? They're going to create a couple of people that work on the golf course, because it's only going to be 9 holes, and they're going to have some people to clean up the hotel rooms, which here again is going to be a weekend business or a seasonal business or whatever you want. You know, they're not industrial type jobs,
right?
that pay.
So, 2 things. One, are any of these pilot applications rejected? I mean, it sounds like they accept everything.
I have seen very few. I haven't heard of any that have really been rejected. I know there was one for a hotel up in Woodstock, which they happened right after the Osmond Tower debacle. It was some type of hotel, or, you know, it wasn't a bed and breakfast, but it was like somewhere in between.
Yeah,
the
small
two.
number of rooms. Yeah,
and they pulled their request for the pilot because the school district up there said, you know, this is all you're doing, and you're taking property off the tax rolls. So now the other people have to pay, make up that much more. In the meantime, you know, salaries for everybody goes up, health insurance goes up, you know, food costs are through the roof.
Exactly. So go back to that golf course. What is it, the Round Out one?
Round Out.
You quoted
1.3 million.
Now, what would the taxes?
You know, it just came out.
Is that 50%?
It just came out in the last year or two, or last month or two. But 1.3 million over. I mean, that's $130,000 a job. Those jobs, if it goes for 10 years, those jobs will not pay $130,000.
So there's really a misuse of the pilot, and they really have no budget of pilots. I mean, they can give pilots, the IDA can give pilots as many as they want.
They can give as many as they want, person comes in, they pay an application fee. I believe it's based on, you know, how big a project you have or whatever, how big the building is, how many people, you know, allegedly. But, you know, it's no, it's you know, it's not a moneymaker for the county. The IDA makes a few bucks, but that's just you know, covers the cost of their administration.
Right.
The other thing is now the banks are telling these companies, if they come in, well, you know what? You can't make it without a pilot and get your taxes lowered. So you go to the IDA and get your real estate taxes lowered for the next 15 or 20 years. And what that does is that reduces the risk to the bank and makes the average taxpayer now a partner with the bank.
Good point.
As far as the lending of the money. But you know what? The taxpayer's not getting anything back. He's paying because they aren't.
Right. And as you pointed out, the pilots that Ulster County is issuing, basically they're not getting all the time. They're not getting high-paying jobs. They're not getting full-time jobs. They're not getting the kind of jobs that a man and a woman can raise a family on.
I don't see any of these that they did last year that were gonna, you know, set the world on fire. You know, Niagara Water was gonna come in here. I don't think they even wanted a pilot. They just wanted some, you know, the water that IBM once used.
Right.
And you know, they got ran out of town.
Yeah. So that kind of segue. You have a few more things, but you can interleave with what I want to.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing I'll say is that, well, I mentioned the banks and like that, but down in Orange County, I thought this was like Ulster County was the county that had the monopoly on messing pilots up. But down in Dutchess or Orange County now, there's 2 or 3 hotels that want to be built. The first thing they said is, well, we want a pilot. The county executive tells you there's a tremendous demand for hotel rooms down here. We're at 85% occupancy, which is unheard of in the industry today. They're begging to build down here. Why would you give these people pilots? You're yelling at the federal government for cutting taxes, and certain people in the legislatures and what have you are saying, well, you're catering to the top 2% of the population. The little guy didn't get a tax cut. Only
megacorp.
The big people in the megacorps. Well, let's see. Marriott, Holiday Inn,
Best Western.
Pick your hotels. They're all major corporations, and you know that's the people you're giving pilots. So you're giving them a tax reduction in another fashion. Amazon, that's going into New York City, you're giving them over a $2 billion tax reduction. Well, isn't that a tax? It's no different than having a tax cut across the board in the income tax. You're telling somebody they don't have to pay any taxes, and yet you're putting more stress on the infrastructure. You're putting more stress on your police and fire and what have you. You know, they give a deal to this low-income housing over on Flatbush Avenue. There's 6 police calls there a day. There's not 6 police calls to most of Kingston in a day to individual houses and like that.
Talking about Colonial Gardens?
Across the street from Colonial Gardens.
Oh, okay.
So these things are using more are using more services of the municipality, and they're paying less for it.
Right. A very good point. On the other hand, other counties, more vibrant economic counties. Let's face it, Ulster County is a low-end economy, very low-end, and it seems like the IDA and the county legislature are doing things basically, you know, to keep us low end. And I'm gonna kind of a segue into what I'm going to talk about. The tax plan that was instituted last year at the federal level, the tax cut, the Trump plan, and it had opportunity zones renewed or refreshed in there. And the opportunity zones were used heavily in this latest announcement in New York City, where Amazon is putting one of their second or third headquarters in Long Island City, Queens, right near Manhattan. And opportunity zones are meant to be for depressed areas. Now, Long Island City is not a depressed area. It's right there on the water, that site, and they gave away the store to Amazon. So they have an opportunity zone there. Now, the big question for Ulster County is why isn't TechCity what was the lifeblood of Ulster County and the Kingston area? Why isn't TechCity in an opportunity zone? Who assigns opportunity zones? The governor of the state. And who tells the governor of the state, what needs to be in the opportunity zone? Two things tell the governor. One, the census tracts, the demographics, and the county government. So why isn't, I'm going to repeat myself, Bruce, but bear with me. Why isn't TechCity in an opportunity zone? The reason there's no stores in the mall, the reason there's no young people coming back here after college is because TechCity and IBM has been gone for 23 years. And so the citizens of Ulster County have been really taken advantage of. And it's in the past, Bruce mentioned Niagara Water, that was a fight that, that would have given TechCity a boost. That was unfortunate. The citizens, taxpayers, people with children, college students that want their children to settle back here, come on, let's speak up. The TechCity should be in an opportunity zone more than Amazon in Long Island City, Queens. It's or at least the equivalent. So as a purpose of this show, I'd like to wake up the citizens and of Ulster County and the politicians. And I asked the various town supervisors. There may be some politics in play. I mean, do you think? Nevertheless, the citizens have been suffering for so long. We've got Brooklyn type economy on Wall Street, but that's not vibrant for the mom and the dad who have to put food on the table. Those aren't full-time jobs. It's an appearance. It's a lifestyle. Ulster County is catering to lifestyle attractions.
If I can just interject.
Anytime.
Low-income housing is not a growth industry. And that's what we have focused on in Kingston, especially Ulster County. Low-income housing and no jobs. And that way, I mean, look at what we do here. We're just giving tax cuts and pilots and everything else to the same people that sell the tax credits to somebody else and are making a lot of money with low-income housing. And it's not the way to grow. It's not profitable, except for those who are doing it.
Right.
And and the majority of the taxpayers in this town are not doing it. They're a partner, but they're getting no return on their investment.
Exactly. So there's another area where the citizens should be speaking up. So we got TechCity, and that's related to the opportunity zone. So maybe we can straighten that out. I'll do some homework. And we'll beat the drums for an opportunity zone for TechCity. Because if TechCity prospers, we can bring our college students back to the area. We can develop full-time jobs, and maybe we can populate stores in our malls that we want to shop at. I mean, it's a disaster. What's happened here post IBM and no activity at TechCity. Now, what about the tourist train? Right now, it's Christmas time, and the Polar Express is tremendously popular, and there's all kinds of people from New York City, Albany, Connecticut coming into the area, spending money at the restaurants. Why not make that a year-round operation? I mean, the trails, etc. They're seasonal. They're very seasonal. And they don't bring people with large amounts of money to the area. There's like 1.5 miles of track that was ripped up that goes from the Polar Express track, Catskill Mountain Railroad, to the Glenford Dyke, which is where the view of the reservoir is. First of all, that shouldn't have been ripped up. But secondly, it can be restored, and we can have year-round tourist trains to the reservoir, dinner trains. We could bring the bikers and the walkers to the new county trail. There should be cooperation. So that's another thing that the citizens should be talking about, especially the restaurants in the Kingston Uptown area should be pushing for. The citizens and the businesses can't be afraid to speak up, because if you continue to act like this, the area is going to get more depressed. You have the appearance of a nice lifestyle, but the family life is not there. Secondly, the railroad there's proposals for a freight depot. Freight depots would depend on not ripping up all the tracks in Midtown Kingston for a linear park. A linear park where there's basically crime has been, it's crime-ridden area, okay? So the citizens of the area have to swallow a lot of nonsense as the Ulster County Legislature and government continue to dismantle our infrastructure. There's a local lumber company would like to bring in lumber via train, and a good way to do it would be through the connection at the Conrail connection in Midtown Kingston. If you rip up the tracks in Midtown, that connection is broken. Not very smart. So we got a lot of dumb things that are going on, and they continue to go on because we citizens don't speak up. Bruce, you got any more pilot info?
Well, I just can tell you that I know this deal with the Round Out Country Club is going. Here's another thing. It was just in the paper. One of the people that requested a pilot so that they don't pay any taxes on their building is uptown. Now he wants two spaces reserved on the side of the building for a loading zone for the people coming in and out of his hotel. Well, now you don't want to pay for parking paying outside. You want to even take more spaces away from a very limited area uptown. You don't want to pay any taxes. What do you want to do? You just want to exist up here, but you don't want to be part of the
responsibilities. Yeah.
Take any responsibility for paying for it. That section of the road has to be plowed. You've taken a parking lot over on Cornell Street and put meters in where it's the only place to park for a number of businesses over there. So now the businesses, the employees, the visitors, they all have to pay to park there on a daily basis. Downtown, you've taken a couple lots where you could. They used to be free. You're making people pay down there to patronize the businesses. And the story goes on and on. And I really think the story that is kind of like, here it is, December 1st, and the story that now is sticking out in my mind is this hospital merger. And that's going to be the story of 2019. On one page, you've got Northern Dutchess saying, we want a hospital zone over here, so every time we move an outlet, we don't have to go to the planning board, in simple terms. And we have to add rooms because our occupancy rate is exceeding expectations and supply. And we know Vassar and Poughkeepsie is going through a huge expansion down there, including cardiac care and what have you. And over here in Ulster County, that's on page 2. Turn the page over to page 5 after you read the obituaries, and it's like an obituary for healthcare in Kingston. Well, we spent $40 million to renovate Kingston Hospital, put in a new emergency room, and get rid of the emergency room altogether at Benedictine, after we supposedly merged the two hospitals, for lack of a better term. So now we have 160 beds at Kingston Hospital. We were going to go to 200 beds at Benedictine. We're gonna go to 175 by adding 15 beds, putting in a new emergency room, and we're gonna spend another $130 million. This is all taxpayer money, but we're downsizing and going in the wrong direction. This is not a growth of an industry. We were gonna have all these doctors and a medical corridor on Broadway. You know what? They've already got it done in Middletown. They're moving forward. We're spinning our wheels in a mud trap or something, or on ice, and we're not getting anywhere. Now the leadership is leaving what they call Health Alliance. We're going to spend $130 million to put 15 more rooms on Benedictine Hospital. That's $9 million a room. We could probably spend $50 million at $9 million a room. We could probably spend half of that money and build out over the parking lot at Kingston, and that would be the end of it. But we're going to spend $130 million of taxpayer money to get this done. It's
right.
We wonder why the healthcare costs are up. Well, this is why. I mean, it's not financially something that can continue, and it's indicative of the area that we're regressing and going in the wrong direction.
A lot of dumb decisions. Bruce, you got me started now on the hospitals. You recall Ulster County is under reimbursed for Medicare versus Northern Dutchess, Rhinebeck, and Vassar. We're separated by a bridge and 6 miles, maybe 10 miles. The politicians have failed us. That for 12 years Kingston Hospital, Benedictine Hospital has been under reimbursed, and it's on the books. And none of our congressmen, none of our senators, not Schumer, not Gillibrand, nobody has.
Hinchy couldn't do anything. Gibson couldn't do anything.
The point is, it's a scandal. It's a scandal. Everybody in the hospital world, hospital association, realizes it's a scandal, and that keeps us at a low level. It's basically frozen. We're 25% disadvantaged for Medicare reimbursement versus Rhinebeck and HealthQuest.
And if you notice, HealthQuest is moving in. The one thing that's going into the Ulster Mall, the Hudson Valley Mall, is a HealthQuest clinic, or whatever you want to call it.
Nice facility.
And let me tell you something. I bet you any money, take 2 cars, ring the bell. You can get just as fast to Northern Dutchess going across the bridge as you can from the mall, as you can to try to get to Kingston Hospital through all the stop signs and red lights in the city of Kingston. So the direction of healthcare is east, across the river.
Yeah, and there are a lot of very dumb decisions have been made by our leaders, and it's up to the citizens to put a stop to it and demand better common sense decisions. So I don't know, to summarize now, Bruce has given us a good preview, introduction, whatever you want to call it, of pilots, basically giving tax reductions to small businesses, mostly tourist businesses that would probably come here anyway. And the banks are, telling them to go get a pilot, and our leaders give the pilot. These pilots are meant for big distribution companies that should be enticed to come here. Bruce said there was a big medical distribution company that was looking for a site, but they stay in Orange County because they're comfortable there. But these are the kind of businesses that could be at TechCity. The pilots are meant for bringing 500, 1,000 jobs at a time to our county, so entice them, not to squander it on small businesses and low-income housing. The low-income housing gets pilots too?
The low-income housing gets